Our two cents.
With Oscar.
Welcome back to Our Two Cents. We're doing it again here at Raxo Studios with your host, Oscar. Our Two Cents, WOscar.com, Our Two Cents on all social media. Leave a comment for the algorithm. It helps keep the ball rolling. Thank you for all your support. Please hit the subscribe button. It's free to you and it means the world to me. And now, Buzzsprout. Let's get your podcast launched today. Today is a great day to start your own podcast, whether you're looking for a new marketing channel, or maybe you have a message you want to share with the world, or just think it would be great and fun to have your own talk show, program, podcast, whatever you want to call it. Podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show can be online and listed in all major podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Within minutes of finishing your recording. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and the team of Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Excuse me. Helping you succeed. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, track, and promote your podcast. Join over hundreds of thousands of podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Let's create something together. Following the link in the show notes lets Buzzsprout know that I sent you. Get you a $20 gift card if you sign up for a paid plan. And most importantly, helps support the show. Thank you. Happy National Chewing Gum Day. The nationalities of chewing gum. Now, obviously, it is the last day of the month, and if you want to celebrate with a big old bubble gum, you are free to do so, because it is National Chewing Gum. National Chewing Gum Day exercises our jaws on September 30th. Pop a bubble gum, or freshen your breath with your favorite piece of chewing gum. Hashtag Chewing Gum Day. Humans have used chewing gum for over 5,000 years, but we're in the year 2000, you say. Yes, we are, but we have been using it for 5,000 years. That's because everything got erased and Jesus Christ came and reset everything all over again. So that's why we started counting. But anyways, then they may have chewed it for enjoyment to stave off hunger or to freshen their breath, much like we do today. The sources used to make gum results in minty and sweet chewable globes of wax, zap resin that fulfills the human urge to gnaw. I don't even know how to say that word. They were unlikely to produce glossy pink bubbles worthy of jealous pokes from siblings. However, waking up with it stuck in your hair was still a possibility. Various forms of chewing gum have existed since Neapolitan period. In 2007, a British archaeologist student discovered a 5,000-year-old piece of chewing gum made from bark tar with tooth imprints in it. Presumed to be the oldest piece of chewing gum, the discovery took place in Kirikki, Finland, somewhere in Finland. Made from bark tar, scientists believe the gum to have antiseptic properties and other medical achievements. That was weird to me. All the new discoveries that they do nowadays, it's baffling to me. It makes me think, out of everything that we've buried in the ground, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, I still wonder, how are people gonna not how, but what are people gonna think when they find, let's say, I don't know, maybe a Nokia buried in the ground? Because I'm pretty sure there's one already buried a couple feet underground. If it was the first couple of years, I've always wondered, like, what are they gonna think? Are they gonna think, I don't know. I don't even know, because maybe we are in the future now, and everything else is just gonna be wasteland, and we're gonna take each other out. I don't know. It seems scary. But anyways, we'll get on that subject soon. On September 30th, National Mud Pack Day. Now, I'm not much of taking care of my cutics, or whatever the fuck it's called. Cutic. I don't know, but my face. That's what I'm trying to say. A hashtag Mud Pack Day. Mud packs are a mixture of therapeutic clay with when applied to skin, increases circulation, ease muscle tension, relaxes toxins, and boosts immunity. They work well on oily and some combination skin types, while commonly used as a facial mud pack, treat the entire skin surface. Since mud packs came in a variety of mixtures, they can be customized for each person. When paired with the massage, the relaxation benefits multiply. They also differentiate between mud mask and clay mask. So look into the benefits of each. Other benefits of mud masks include relieving pain, swelling related to arthritis, digestion, stress, and quick treatment for bee and wasp stings. Wow, that's good to know. We learn something new every day in here at Raxo Studios and R2 Cents. That's because that's what we do here. We become smarter every time. Maybe. Or we just become more dumber because we just watch TikTok. Probably, I don't know. But that's interesting to know that mud packs are good for bee and wasp things. So if you're not allergic and you don't need an EpiPen, well, then you know what to do. Use a quick mud pack. But it is interesting. I don't know how that works. I don't take care of my face like that. This is all natural. That's why it is like the way it is. Anyways, it's all fun and games. It's been a great journey so far this year. We are at 253 episodes. Thank you, like I say at the beginning, for your support and kindness. Keep subscribing. Eventually, we'll get the hang of this shit. But speaking of shit, we find ourselves in a shitty situation, right? I've been talking about it on my lives. Well, more or less watching it. It wasn't even on my lives. It was on my regular posts, on my regular Monday and Friday posts. But it is getting shittier and shittier. War in Russia, in Ukraine, the revolution in Iran, the China's coup allegation, which we probably know that it's not true by now, because otherwise we would have heard something else. And now the Nord Stream pipeline busted. But who did it? We don't know. No one knows. But that's why we got to listen to different types of people. Different type of people have different opinions, different views, different information, better information. So that's why we try to have conversations with people that are in a different lane that I'm in, if that makes any sense. Anyways, without further ado, I bring to you my new friend from TikTok, the content creator, Merpden. He's a news reporter. We'll see what he's been into lately, because I keep getting more and more scared. But anyways, I won't bore any of you with any of that stuff. Without further ado, I bring to you my friend Merpden. Den on TikTok.
Did you how did you find me, or what actually I don't even know how this starts. How do we start this?
Well, usually I let you know who I am. I'm Oscar. Thank you for accepting to do this. I really appreciate you and your time. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and introduce yourself. Also, please plug everything you have going on and send me all your links so I can add them to the episode description as well in the show notes. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
go ahead, please introduce yourself and let us know who you are, what you do, and again, plug all your stuff.
Okay, so I'm Merpden. I used to be Merpbang. I'm a geopolitical commentator on TikTok. Pretty much, I just do TikTok. I have an Instagram, Merpden, same thing. No, actually, it's Merp by ing, Merp.ing. Let me see. What did I? Yeah, Merp.ing. But the same thing. It's just Merpden. I think a geopolitical history, political TikToker. Is that how you found me? Is that how you found me? Or
Yes, I came across on your TikTok. You were talking about the current events, and that's why I was like,
yeah,
"Huh, that's interesting. I want to know more of what you know, what you've come across."
yeah, yeah.
Just
Yeah,
to
no problem. Yeah, no problem. No problem.
just to see what's going on because I myself I'm only keeping track as far as videos I see on TikTok, right? But I get too scared to know exactly what's going on. So for the most part, I don't even go searching for like the articles or stuff like that. So
Uh-huh.
everything I know that's going on is based on what I seen on TikTok. So that's
Uh-huh.
why I was like, it would be interesting to talk to somebody that's like every day digging into it and finding out what's going on and to, maybe I've like I'm saying I don't pay attention close into detail. It's just like what I see. Maybe you know more details than of what's going on that I've missed, where it would ease my mind, I guess.
Are you on the mindset that the world's coming to an end or something? Or you
Well,
think,
I haven't crossed that line yet, but I'm hopeful. I still have hope. I haven't lost the hope.
well,
Only
I'm here to
Oh,
huh?
let me say this only because I know how much money the United States Defense Department spends on it. That's what gives me hope that we will be okay, regardless.
It's
Hope.
actually not that money.
Say what?
It's actually not that money that's actually the money that you should actually make that keeps you safe and sound is the fact that these billionaires, these billionaires, these mega corporations, they've invested trillions of dollars into the global economy. They are not about to throw it all away over a nuclear bomb or a nuclear holocaust or whatnot, like a nuclear war. Like a lot of these, like yes, we spend all the like. I think that's great. We have this huge defense because that is a stick. We have a big stick. The United States has a big stick.
Right.
But at the same time, like what keeps me safe at night or sane at night is that knowing that like as much as like these billionaires want to control us, they also want to live. Because what's the point of having all this money if everyone's dead?
Right.
If
That's
everything's gone.
of course because where are they going to spend it? Who are they going to spend it on? Right.
Yeah.
It may that part of me. That's what eases my mind. But I see. I wasn't even thinking of that. I was just thinking the money that they spend in making more money. But also it's like the same thought, I guess. Um,
Mhm.
but what it worries me is that a lot of the money is being sent that way. A big portion of it has been sent so far. Does that is that should that be worrying? Because it seems like they're directly getting more involved as time goes on.
So actually, we're still not getting directly involved as much as people like make the headlines to make it seem like, oh, the United States. Okay, the United States has been fighting a proxy war. We're not going to deny that. The United States is fighting a proxy war. A proxy war, pretty much, they are not directly involved, but we are funneling money. We're funneling our equipment. Our money is going towards Ukraine to fight a war that's not. We're directly involved. Um, Proxy war examples: Vietnam War, Korean War. All those wars were proxy wars. We were involved, but it wasn't the United States actively like. It wasn't United States versus. It was the conflict was still like in Vietnam, it was South Vietnamese versus the North Vietnamese, and the United States was helping. Right here, Ukraine is fighting Russia. The United States is helping Ukraine. Now, they've done a great job. I will give this credit. I will give the credit to this government that we have actually have not. We haven't stepped over the threshold. As in, we haven't. What do you call it? We haven't. We haven't. It's not NATO versus Russia yet. It's not NATO versus Russia yet. It's still within the boundaries of just of us not being directly involved. We're still funneling money. Nothing has really changed. From the start of this war to where we are now, nothing has changed fundamentally for the United States. We have been still sending the message we are not going to get directly involved, because this whole thing revolves around Russia trying to get us to come to the table. Because if you guys don't know, if you don't know, I'm so used to lives. If you don't know, Russia has been kicked out of the geopolitical conversation ever since like 2008 Georgia. If you didn't know, back in 2008, the first invasion was into Georgia and then Crimea. That's when the sanctions really started hitting on Russia. Like, they started getting more isolated because Russia was trying to be this imperialistic, like Putin was trying to be this imperialistic, like, he wants to be remembered as this great Russian figure. He's always said, I want to be remembered as Peter the Great, as in Peter the Great is, like, by if you know the history, he is one of the greatest Russian leaders. He had a huge, massive empire, and he wants to be remembered that. So like, his ego kind of wants him to take back the land, because he's also said repeatedly that the greatest political tragedy is the collapse of the Soviet Union.
Right.
The collapse of the Soviet Union is the greatest tragedy. So he wants to reverse that. That's actually why he hates. I don't know if you know, but the leader that broke up the Soviet Union, Gorbachev, he actually just passed away, and Putin didn't even attend his funeral because of how, like, he's mad that Gorbachev broke up the Soviet Union, even though the Soviet Union was actually supposed to. The Soviet Union was going to collapse regardless. The Soviet Union was on the brink of economic collapse. Whether or not Gorbachev broke it off or who broke it off, it was going to collapse. They just did it. They couldn't compete with capitalism. It just wasn't there. So back to the whole thing though, like, Russia's whole stint with this is getting to the geopolitical table and really making their presence known, because again, they were kind of fading in the world. Like, yes, they have all these resources, but in the sense of like geopolitical importance, like, people were shifting to, like, people are looking at China. Like, there's no denying China is up and coming. Russia is still a threat. Obviously, Russia hacked our 2016 election in the United States, but China is more of the imposing threat than Russia really is, because China has a functioning government, has a functioning. They're making more money. They have all these investments they've done. They're gunning for the #1 position, and Russia was like, hey, I want to still be part of this conversation. I still have all these nukes. But the way they've managed this whole crisis has kind of shown how, like, like, Putin's smart, but I feel like his way of thinking is really old, and it's outdated. It's outdated. Like, the reason why I say this is because Russia had the chance to become one of the best. Like, they have the resources, they have the material to be the #1 global power. They do. But instead, because if Russia had just focused on building their own country, because prior to all their invasions back in 2008, Russia was experiencing record GDP growth. Their economy was booming, was taking off through the roof, and then was taking off the roof. But then they decided to do these invasions, and because of those invasions, it started leading to more sanctions. They got more isolated. They started shrinking back instead of focusing on themselves and focusing on, like, their economy, focusing on international trade, focusing on developing their own infrastructure. They were like, hey, let's go back to the old days, the Soviet Union days. But it's like, nah, there's a way to do it, and the way you're doing that, Putin's doing it, it's just outdated, and Russia just cannot compete. Like, if you look at the budget that Russia has, the economy, everything that Russia has, it just cannot compete with the United States. Like, you could talk about China being a competition with the United States. That's fine. But Russia was not in the conversation because they did not focus on themselves. They focused on wars. They focused on invasions. They focused Chechnya. You have Georgia. You have Crimea. I mean, Ukraine. So yeah. So yeah. Yeah. Spinning it all back. Spinning it all back together. But yeah, this whole thing started with Russia wanting to make itself relevant again.
That's interesting. I wasn't even aware of that of what you're saying. I knew that China it's a competitor to the USA, right? But I didn't know where Russia stood in there. I just know that I just understood that they were a superpower, but I didn't know if they were even in the competition. But the way you're explaining it, it's like they're not even near the competition, because,
like, they're still relevant. I will still say they're relevant because of the natural resources they have. We can't deny that Russia still is a power. They're a power. They are still relevant. It's just that in terms of like the development and growth, no one was saying, oh, Russia's going to be #1. No one was saying Russia was going to be #1. It was always China. You always heard China. You might have heard India. I mean, the EU, the European Union.
right.
Like, you've heard them, but you heard about Russia. Oh, you know Russia for like KGB spies, Cold War days, but you didn't really know them as like, hey, they're gonna overtake the U.S. in economy. Like no one was saying that. No one was saying that.
Right. What is this on the economy subject? I had other questions on that, but let me jump into this one real quick. What is this that is it Brazil, China, Russia, and India? They're setting up their own
BRICS.
No, is it BRICS?
It's called BRICS. So it's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
Right. What is that? Is that even a threat, or should we be worried about that, or?
So that's an economic alliance. BRICS is an economic alliance. It is not a military alliance. They operate in terms of economic, like they pretty much, it's not really much. There's not really much there. Like, yes, they have the acronym BRICS, but in terms of military and stuff like that, they're not a military. They're not a military. India is in direct competition with China. India and China do not like each other. They do not like each other. Even though India and China are in treaties together, but if you know the history about India and China, they have massive beef with each other. As in, it was just recently that they stopped skirmishes on the borders of India and China. But India is a direct competitor of China's. India is in. So while India has some alliance, so the reason why India is in those alliances, like with Brazil, Russia, and stuff like that, is because Russia is India's biggest supplier of military equipment. I don't know if you know that.
I wasn't aware of that.
Russia is India's biggest supplier of military equipment. And so because of that, they have ties with Russia. But India is trying to get off of Russian military equipment. They're trying to develop their own military industrial complex. But that takes time. That takes time. It's not what I think. It takes time. It takes time. So they're trying to build their own. The United States is trying to pull India away. And the United States also has alliances with India in terms of a strategic, I don't know if you know about the Quadrilateral Alliance, which is pretty much it's a strategic dialogue. People say it's not a military alliance, but it's pretty much a military alliance. And the goal of it is to stop China. Like India is in a literal military alliance to be against China. India can deny that, and India has said many times that denying it's a military alliance, but there's a Quad summit. There's a lot of trainings that Indian soldiers go with the American soldiers. Like everyone in that region, not just India, but everyone in the Eastern Asian, Southeast Asian, South Asian area, they all see China as the threat. And so they're all in direct competition. So again, all dialogues, all exchanges between India and China, like they might be in some treaties here or there, but for the most part, India and China just do not like each other. They don't like each other. Okay. They want to be number one.
That's kind of hopeful, I guess, because if those aren't like say militarily together, then that puts Russia like in a different spot than what we really thought they were. But what I was going to ask earlier, you said you brought up that when everything started, but also when everything started, didn't Boris Johnson was it the one that he's the one that said that they didn't want to compromise with Putin or something like that? I'm paraphrasing right now, but I just don't remember. No.
I mean, they're still not compromising.
Oh, but apparently from what I've heard from is it not Rising? Jesus, I'm not gonna remember the name, but that Russia did have plans on compromising, but the U.S. and Boris Johnson wasn't. I don't know specifically him, but they named him. They didn't want to do any deals with him. They wanted to prolong the war, I guess.
So everyone can say that prolonging the war, people could say, oh, it's just to funnel the military-industrial complex. That's actually that's actually not true, because again, this war actually serves nobody. If you actually realize this war has done so much damage to the global economy. I mean, look at your gas prices. Gas prices skyrocketed after the war in Ukraine. Look at everything. Like there is a common misconception that war is good for economies. It actually isn't. Most times when you go to war, you actually have devastating results. Most people point to World War II as in like, oh, look, the U.S. made so much money from World War II. They didn't get touched. In World War II, they didn't get touched. Like in World War II, everybody got fucked by the United States. Like no one invaded the United States. That's why they came out with victorious, and they were selling weapons to everybody. But
that's funny.
Huh?
That's hilarious.
It's true though. No one touched it. I mean, aside from Pearl Harbor, nobody touched the United States. So their factories, their industry was completely up and running. While like Europe, we had to rebuild Europe. I don't know if you know that I forgot the plan name, the Marshall Plan. I think the Marshall Plan. We
Okay.
sent like $100 billion worth of like of foreign aid to like rebuild all of Europe, and that's why the United States came out on top. But okay, go back to the whole thing. But misconception, um, any deal with Russia that includes giving up land to Russia, giving up any Ukrainian land to Russia is a loss. It's going to be a loss. Because look, if this is like it's like giving it's like an analogy. What's a good analogy? It's like you have a toddler, right? You have a toddler, and like you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So if Putin like invades and then he gets all this land from this war, right? The compromise is, oh, they just you get this land. They invade again, they get more land. Okay, well, you can get more land.
Mhm.
When is the point of like, okay, all right, so they took all over Ukraine? Because the point of the whole Russian invasion is to invade Ukraine and pretty much make it into a puppet state. Uh, I don't know, you know the country Belarus.
Yeah, where the bomb was like a year or so ago, right? The
No,
hydrogen explosion.
no, Belarus is a country right next to Russia, and it's pretty much a Russian. It's another part of Russia, because although Russia has its own country, it has its own government and whatnot, it's a puppet government under Russia. Lukashenko is a Putin puppet.
Mm,
He's a puppet of Putin. So Putin wanted to do the same thing to Ukraine, which is why he launched an invasion into the capital. Because again, he failed to take the capital. If he takes the capital, he takes the entire country.
right.
He takes the entire country. Because again, you can people say, oh, the capital was a distraction. That's like the most ridiculous, illogical thing ever. Because if you take the capital, you take Ukraine. I get that. Okay, the president could have left and went to another city, but for the most part, you take the capital, you destroy the country's morale.
Mm-hmm.
You Now you're in a prolonged conflict. It's 8 months into this war. Putin has said on record in 2014. You can look this up. 2014, he said on record that he could take Ukraine, take Kiev, the capital, in 2 weeks.
Well,
We're 8 months into this war. We're 8 months into this war. We're 8 months into this war.
and
Still here, baby.
and Ukraine is pushing back now, right? Now they're pushing them back. Is
They're
that
pushing
true?
back. Yes, they're pushing him back, but that's why I actually agree that I'm on the mindset that you can't have a compromise with Putin, because if you compromise, then you're just going to give into his demands, because you're feeding his ego. He needs a victory out of this. You give him a compromise, you embolden him. Like, you give him actually more power, because right now what's giving him credibility and what's giving him still power in the government is that he has successes, but they're slowly dwindling away. I mean, you just heard about the partial mobilization. He's starting to get desperate because the losses that he's stacking up in Ukraine, like this war in Ukraine, should have been over with. Like, having a prolonged conflict does nobody good. Like, if anyone tells you, oh yeah, like yeah, he's just stalling. It's part of his master grand plan. No, a prolonged conflict is going to lead to bigger problems domestically, internationally, not just for Russia but for everybody. China, Russia's supposed ally, India, Russia's supposed allies are saying, hey, calm the fuck down, like get the fuck out of there, like you. China is starting to show that they're literally embarrassed. They're like, bruh, like you fucked up. Because then Putin actually met with Xi, leader of Russia, met with the leader of China right before the invasion, like around the Olympics. I mean, I don't know if you know, the Olympics were right before the invasion, and they met and they talked about it. And I'm pretty sure Putin told Xi the plan about Ukraine. Xi has concerns about why is this war taking so long, and China actually has played a pretty neutral stance. Or obviously they've helped Russia by buying more Russian oil and helping with trade, but they actually haven't given any Chinese military equipment to Russia, that we know of.
Okay.
There's no evidence of Chinese military equipment, which actually we probably have a good tell of. We would know instantly if they sent over weapons.
Right.
But yeah, they're telling them to pull back. Like, it's a total embarrassment for Putin on Russia's part. So yeah.
How does it seem for them to be buying? There was another report for them to be buying weapons from North Korea. How does it make them look?
So North Korea denied that. North Korea
Oh,
denied that, which I look like you don't. Yeah, okay, we don't know who to believe, what not.
right,
There's
of
reports.
course.
We don't know whether to believe that or not. But I mean, I'm actually surprised because Russia, if you don't know, if you look up Russia's military supply stockpile, they have a ton of stuff. And the reason for this is because during the Cold War, the USSR was literally building up an arsenal for World War III. So if you look at the tank personnel and whatnot, they have a bunch of shit that they made during the Cold War.
Outdated.
Still works, just because it's outdated. Like an AK-47 is like a was made in the 1940s. Still
Right.
works.
Right. It's not like
Still works.
it's not gonna explode, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, well, I mean, maybe some of those will explode. Maybe they don't maintain it really well. If they don't maintain it really well, it'll explode. But like, yeah. But there's a thing though. Like, I'm actually surprised because I would think they would still have more rockets and ammunition that they could still throw at this war, which they've shown. But if it is true that they did buy weapons from North Korea, then look, that's funny, but also it's not a surprise. North Korea is pretty much a North Korea has to do whatever China and Russia tell them to do.
Right, because
So
that's like the little brother, right? They keep him around just because they might need him one day.
they pretty much keep him around. It's pretty much just like he's a tool. Like I think I saw a bunch of people on TikTok saying, "Oh, like North." I saw some guy. I made a video about it. Some guy was saying, "Oh, North Korea is giving their weapons in exchange for nuclear bomb information." But I was like, "No, that's not how this works. They're not exchanging anything. North Korea gets to live as a country. North Korea gets to survive as a country. It gets to exist for the exchange for nuclear bombs."
Ah, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I thought it was funny too if it was true because I didn't hear anything else about it. But also, I saw a video that somebody, I don't, it could have, obviously, it could have not been true. But in the video, they were showing a lot of like missiles, some type of missiles that were like all scattered all over the floor, but they didn't explode.
No,
Like,
like duds. Yeah.
it,
I mean, yeah.
but that's what I was thinking when I said they're outdated. Like that's what I was thinking exactly that. If they're weapons from like 30 or plus years ago, like that's what I thought. That's where my brain went when you were trying to explain to me that they were probably okay.
let's say 30 or 40% of that stuff is outdated. Well, it's a decent chance you got a 50-50. If it lands on you, maybe it bomb blows you up, maybe it doesn't. But
Right. It's explosion to explosion is not gonna make a difference whether it's small or big, right? If it's above your head.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, for the most part though, yeah, Russia has a lot of equipment. It's just yeah, I don't think they ran out of, I'd actually be very surprised if they run out of if they run out of if they run out of artillery, if they run out of ammunition, that's actually really bad.
Yeah.
That's actually really bad for Russia. That's really bad for Russia if they run out of ammunition. But I don't think that's the case. I just think they built so much, dude. They were preparing for the Cold War. The reason why it's cold because nothing happened, but they were literally preparing for World War III. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, they wanted to use him sometime, so this was the perfect time for them, right?
Yeah.
What about China? That rumor of the coup. Now, I know you made a video saying that it wasn't true. I know that much. But how did that get started? Like, especially from China, how did that get started?
So from what I researched, it was pretty much like a far right Chinese organization called the Falun Gong. They spread that shit and they want to fucking take over China.
Ah, makes
they, they
sense.
they just hate China, and obviously India does not like China. Like I said, India does not like China. So like India picked that up and they just ran with it because obviously anything bad happening to China, India's gonna pick up and run with that. It's gonna run with that. They're gonna spread it like wildfire.
Oh, they're gonna let
Um,
everybody know, right?
they're gonna let everyone know. They're like, look, he's shit in the bed.
I,
But
I he's running for his third. I mean, his third term, right?
yeah, I mean,
Well, he's not
no
technically
surprise.
running, but I mean, he's gonna get it. There's
It's
no.
it's no surprise that he's gonna get a third term. It's no surprise, but I think what we're gonna be looking towards is his leadership cabinet, because then that is gonna get all rearranged because like, there's a couple people. There's like his premier, his second in command. I read he was retiring, which is actually pretty big news. He actually also makes pretty big decisions in China as well. So this election cycle is gonna be kind of interesting to see who replaces who. Obviously, Xi Jinping is probably gonna stay in. I mean,
As a
I'm pretty
leader.
sure there's like a bunch of coups trying to take him out, but it's just like everyone's trying to take out Putin. Everyone's trying to take out Biden. Even our president, people are trying to take him out too. So it's like,
Right, January 6th. Yeah. You know what? I didn't even think. I didn't even think of him having oppositions only because I know that he runs the whole show. He has to say so on everything. But I didn't even think like, oh, there's could be oppositions over there. But could could that change in the near, maybe not in the near future, but like sometime? Do you see it? Oh wait, the question that I should be asking is, are the people content or they want change?
So it depends where you're at in China and who you are. But the opposition, so the Falun Gong is kind of irrelevant. That's not really an opposition. So the CCP, the Communist Party,
Mhm.
probably will never be gone. That's probably never be gone. They just have so many members. Pretty much like if you live in China, you're pretty much a communist. You're pretty much part of the party. Like they have a lot of programs when you're younger. You get a lot of incentives for being part of the party. That's not going to go away. Now you're going to have opposition to Xi within his own party. The opposition isn't going to come from like a far like another group. Like it's not
Mhm.
going to come from like a democratized group. It's going to come from within the Communist Party. That's where you're going to find your opposition. So yeah, that's where we have to look towards who's going to oppose them within the party because while Xi is at the top, there are people who are just as powerful as him within the Chinese government. But yeah,
Now,
but in terms of like a regime change, China actually is going through kind of an economic collapse. I don't know if you've been reading, but China's actually not been doing really well.
it's a
It's huh?
it's a real estate problem, right?
They have a real estate problem. They have a supply chain problem. They have a loan problem. They have a lot of issues. Like their government is based off of actually like building trade surpluses and whatnot. So yeah, they have okay. The main thing is the real estate. The real estate, if you don't know, they have about 1 million apartment complexes. Nobody's living in them. It's all speculatory. Like it's pretty much they're defaulting. Those millions of apartments are not making any revenue.
Wait,
You spend all the huh?
so do they really have 1 billion people if they have so many cities that nobody lives in them?
They have ghost cities. They actually legitimately have ghost cities.
No, no, I understand that, but do they really have that as much people as they say they have?
Yeah, they have 1 billion people. They have 1 billion
I, mean,
people.
I
The
said a
population,
million. My bad. I said
yeah,
way
yeah.
off.
That's okay. Shanghai is huge. Shanghai is huge. Beijing is huge. I've been lucky to go to Hong Kong. Even though Hong Kong is technically its own thing, but still part of China. But
Okay.
those places like have 20, 30 million people, and then you're not even talking like they have 1.4 billion people, but that's also people living in the countryside. People who don't have the money that to actually like the people who can afford those apartments are only like a couple. It's not even like more than 50%. Like 50% of the population lives really pretty poorly. It is pretty poor. Well, like they had like China probably. I think the statistic is China has the most millionaires, but you're gonna have the most millionaires when you have that many people.
Mm.
When you have just so many people, you're just going to have more millionaires than everybody else. But yeah, they can't they can't give free housing to everybody. Those apartments they cost like millions upon billions of dollars to produce. You got to
Of
be
course.
generating revenue somewhere.
Right.
So
It's the money's
so
got to come back in.
yeah, and they're starting to default. They're starting to default. Well, they started defaulting like last year, and it's just compounding onto the Chinese economy. So that's why people are saying it's going to be an economic collapse. And with the COVID lockdowns, um, the Chinese government does not want to admit this. Good thing we're on Zoom because if this was on TikTok, I'm probably sure we get taken down. But
Oh, yeah.
we get taken down already. But that's actually how I got my first account banned.
Oh, you did. You were talking about Bad of the Devil, huh?
Yeah, seriously, man. I was buying the hand that fed me. Just kidding.
Jeez. Hey.
I was buying the hand that fed. No, no, I didn't say anything too bad, but I did make a comment. I was giving a little history about the CCP, and I think that took my old account down, and so I had to
Oh.
rebuild. Yeah, I had
Oh,
to rebuild.
oh my God. How far were you at first?
I was like, actually, it's not that big. I only had like 11 to 12K followers.
That's a lot. Look at my numbers. Jesus Christ. To me, that's that's the next step I want to get to, but all within time. I'm not in a hurry. I'll get there eventually.
Did you just start? Did you just start?
Technically yes, but I've been trying to figure this out while keeping a construction job, which I don't have a get out time. That's why I asked you to do this so late, because I was like, I don't know what time I'll be home, because I get it. Sometimes I'll get out at 5, sometimes at 3.
7 p.m. is not that late.
Say what?
7 is not that late. You're
Oh
good.
well, I got to get up at 3 or 4 in the morning, so that it changes for me. So
You got 12-hour shifts. You got 12-hour shifts, huh?
sometimes
Oh.
for the most part is 9 and 10 hour shift, but there's those days that like you got to stay. But
I think I would recommend because you get at least 2 days off. You get 2 days off, right?
yeah.
If you have time, I mean, I would just try to clip highlights. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're trying to clip highlights and you're trying
I
to just
don't.
show.
I don't do any of that. That's what I should probably start doing.
It takes a lot of time. These things take a lot of time. I feel like these podcasts, they just take a lot of time. And I feel like you want a social life too. Like I'm pretty sure you want to have fun and like stuff like that.
Well, I got kids too, and I gotta give them time too, so that makes it a little more trickier for me. That's
Yeah,
what.
yeah, it has I have a kid too.
Oh, okay. Damn, I was in a flex on you. I was like, no, I'm a full time adult. No, I'm just kidding.
And I look young, but I'm 28.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. You're lying. No offense or anything, but it's no offense at all. But this is actually like a compliment, I guess. But I was gonna say I thought you were like between 18 and 22 at the oldest. I was gonna say one of
No,
those.
I'm 28.
Oh,
I'm
nice. You look so young, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I think are we the same age or are you
No,
older
I'm
than me,
30.
or?
Yeah, we're similar. 32. We're
Oh,
almost.
we might have been in high school together.
Yeah,
You were
yeah.
a senior, I was a freshman.
Yeah, I would be getting out. You would be coming in. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
for the most part, I've lived in the IE. What area you live in? You stay
I
in?
live in I live in Southern California, Southern
Oh,
California.
okay.
I used to be in the IE. I used to be in Riverside. I used to be in Riverside.
Oh,
I used to live
what
out in
school you
Riverside.
went to?
I didn't go to
Oh,
I went to college there. I went to
oh,
Riverside.
UCR or RCC?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
UCR.
yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah. You went to
you.
Bishop? You went no Bishop. You went to King or what? You went to King?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. What do you call it? I wasn't that rich to live in that area.
Oh, okay.
I'm more Norte Vista. I don't. You might have heard of it.
I've heard about it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's where I went. Yeah, that's interesting. You probably came around the same area because I used to live in downtown Riverside back in
Yeah,
2009.
yeah, dope. That's dope. I love downtown Riverside. Downtown Riverside is dope. Downtown
Yeah,
Riverside is dope. I love Riverside. I honestly, but that place is awesome. That place is awesome. I was really sad to move out, but yeah, it's a dope ass place. They're building more things out there. They're building
yeah,
more
it's
things out
getting bigger. It's getting bigger. I moved from Riverside now because I bought a house, so I had to go where it was more available for me. So, but yeah. Anyways, let's get back to the other
there. Yeah,
the other topic that we were talking about.
yeah.
But yeah, what about Iran? Iran.
Iran.
It's not
Iran.
Iran.
Iran is Iran. I know people are talking about. I don't know if you've seen the second cultural revolution.
Okay, I don't know if we're talking about the same thing, but what I've seen is just girls cutting their hairs and protest.
Yeah. That's what people are calling for the cultural revolution.
Oh,
As in
okay.
because she got killed because
Right.
she got killed for wearing the hijab wrong or poorly
Not
or whatever.
wearing it, I guess.
So I don't know if I'll go as far because people I've seen people on social media say that it's gonna be the next government change. Like things are gonna
Will it? Do you think it'll?
things are, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Unless these protests spark into like because they're rioting right now. The government has shut down internet, so we actually don't really know what's going on over there. From what we've been seeing from small clips here and there is that like there's massive riots, people have been dying, but like for the most part, I just don't see the momentum enough to actually enact. I could be proven wrong. I could be wrong. There could be a regime change, but for the most part, yeah, I mean, the Middle East in general is a mess, and I
Right.
mean it's due to both the United States, Russia, the Soviet Union, China. Everyone has a play in it. Obviously, the United States has made a prominent role in that in that department. But dude, we exploit like anywhere that has resources, we've exploited the crap out of. I mean, look at Africa. Africa got fucking is still getting exploited to this day. To this day, countries are still trying to exploit the crap out of Africa because of the amount of resources there. But Iran, yeah, just another place that has a lot of oil. It's not a great place.
Right. Yeah. I now that you say that the U.S. is at fault for like a lot of those issues, all I was thinking was the banana massacre. You've heard of that?
I haven't heard of that.
Well, I don't know the whole story. I'm just gonna give you the what I know. So basically, Chiquita, the banana Chiquita,
Oh,
they
Colombia. Oh, this is Colombia.
it was
Oh,
Guatemala. It was Guatemala, I believe.
oh, I said Colombia right here.
I could be wrong. I'm definitely wrong then. But yes, they went down there. People were protesting because Chiquita wasn't paying them appropriate pay. They were
Mhm.
they were actually giving them vouchers so that they could buy stuff from their stores, so
Uh-huh.
that they wouldn't have to pay them money. So
Uh-huh.
people got tired of that and they started protesting. So Chiquita gave money to the government of Guatemala or of Colombia, whichever one of those two. You said Guatemala. I mean Colombia, right? Right.
It's
Okay.
just in Colombia. It's in Colombia.
Okay.
Maybe it's Guatemala. Maybe it's
It's
Guatemala.
I've heard Guatemala. I
Oh,
could
just
be
keep going. Just
wrong.
keep going. Just keep going. Just
Okay,
keep
but
going.
but anyways,
It's the same thing. Same thing. It's the same thing.
yes.
Not the
So
same.
they gave money to the government, and the government sent pretty much the National Guard, their National Guard, and just killed everybody, all the workers that were protesting. So that's how the game is played. Unfortunately, but I think about these things that that this country has done, and is it bad or is it good? And would we have the opportunities that we have? And I'm saying this because I'm in a place where I have tons of opportunities. I'm not in like per se, I don't know, like these people that are suffering right now that we just spoke about, Iran, like those people. I'm not over there where they're literally being oppressed by religion. Like we don't have none of that here. So my sentiment is like, would we have the same opportunities? But also, what about everybody else?
Are you saying that like because of the history, even though the United States has done terrible things and has led us to this point where we should, and I wouldn't say be grateful, but like we should understand where we came from, like understand that the opportunities that we were given were because of our terrible history. It's a very touchy subject.
It
It's
is.
not. It's not. It's not. No, I actually, so that's obviously we're able to do the things that we want to do. Our country's not perfect. Our country's not
No,
perfect.
by
The country's
far.
not country's not perfect. But to say that, yeah, this is just really controversial because then
But okay, let me tell you why maybe you would understand me a little more. I wasn't born in this country or raised in this country. I got here to this country when I was 11. So the way I think of it is, I walked too far and came too far to be kind of like what you said, like biting the hand that feeds me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Maybe that's why I see it that way.
because you came really far and you've been given these opportunities and you were able to make a life here, and so why, like, you're grateful for the opportunities, and so why should you bite the hand that feeds you? Because even though that hand gave you all these opportunities, right?
Right, right. Maybe
I
I'm
think
wrong for thinking it that
I,
way.
well, in that sense, that's the greatest thing about this country, that you can be grateful, but also criticize. You could criticize too, because at the end of the day, these things were terrible. Like the amount of like oppression, genocides are
I'm not
still.
saying that it was any. I'm not saying that it was
Oh yeah, yeah,
great.
no, no, no. We're not going there. We're not going there.
Okay.
I understand. I completely understand. I don't think you're saying anything wrong. I think you're just trying to understand it from that point. I think what we're trying to do is that, okay, what the past happened is past. Past happened. Past is past.
Right.
We have to move forward. What we can do is learn from those mistakes and try not to do them. We're not going to be perfect. What's done is done, which is pretty shitty to say. I feel like if we had a clock to reverse everything, I feel like we could do it. But I think we have to, at the end of the day, we have to move forward, and we have to understand. I think that's why education and history matters, is that we have to learn from that stuff. We have to be reminded of that stuff, because if we forget that stuff, yeah, we could go down a dangerous path.
Right. For sure. Because the way I think is like the way I think that it should be done is like a lot of people are asking say reparations, right? They're asking for that. Like who are they going to give reparations to? And also, there was people of different colors fighting for. Well, there was white people also fighting for the slaves' freedom too. Now that's very controversial to say, but will they be included in the reparations to those families of those people? And also, are you did and also you people today didn't suffer what they suffer, so why would they get paid? I don't, like I said, I'm definitely wrong with my thought, but I'm saying it out loud so maybe I can get an understanding why I'm thinking that way, and and get a better understanding or a better opinion.
So I think it's illogical to, well, okay, maybe I don't know how the treasury would do it. Probably some economics maybe have a solution to give reparations, but you have, so if you look at the history of like people who actually had, like, the reparations isn't because people were slaves. People, like, well, obviously the slavery part is really bad, but people got like literal land taken away even after slavery.
That
Like
makes
uh,
sense.
if you don't remember, back in the 1950s or 60s, There was a black family that actually owned this owned this plot of land in like a beach area, I think in Santa Monica or in Southern California, and like the rich people just pretty much they like they got jealous and they just took the land away from them, and it was only until recently this year that they got that land back. So in terms of that reparation, yeah, you should give that kind of stuff back, because there was a lot of land stolen. There was a lot of land stolen. Like realistically, obviously, I know realistically you can't just wave, you can't just do everyone gets a check, everyone gets a check. But I do think there's things you can do things right and set things right and give people what they were like when you bought land. Like it's like saying, like, let's say you bought land and they got taken from you. Wouldn't you want it back? You would want it back at least, because you that was fairly, you purchased it, you had the rights to it. Like that's what these people of color are asking for. I mean, look at even the Japanese. If you don't remember the Japanese internment camps, but Japanese citizens, not just Japanese citizens, Asian people, Japanese Americans, Asian Americans lost their homes. They lost land because the United States government demonized them, and they were like, oh, because we're Japan, everybody is going there, and so a lot of people lost these land. So we're asking for just like compensation for the wrongdoings. It's like we're asking for the wrongdoings. Now, of course, I'm not asking for freebies. It's not a freebie, and I'm not saying that, oh, like, because you're a person of color, you get a freebie. I'm just saying the families that were affected directly. Like if you came to this, if you're African American that came and you didn't have anything taken from you, that's a different story. If you're an Asian American, they didn't have anything taken from you. If you're not affected by the terrible acts from the U.S. government, I think it's a different story. But if your ancestry, if your history, like, if there was a time where like your family was doing great, like they had all this money, they had all this property, but it got taken from you because of like the illegitimate actions of like a tyrannical government, wouldn't you want it back? Just like fairly, just fairly. Of course. Because think about it. Like think of it like you had all this money, you had all this wealth. All of a sudden it was stripped from you. You had to start from zero. And these people were like at their 50s, 60s. They couldn't do anything. And so like it create, and then you become into the cycle of poverty because you got stripped everything away from you. Yeah. So that's where the reparations actually does make sense. I'm not saying that every person of color, it's a very complicated issue because it's a very complicated issue because it's not just like, because yes, people of color, like me and you, we're people of color. Right. Me and you are people of color. I just assumed, but
I'm Salvadorian, so yeah.
Yeah, you're Salvadorian. Okay.
I always tell everybody, what the hell are you talking about? I'm American, Central American, but I'm American.
Yeah, you're American. You're American, but but for the most part, like we came here later on, so obviously we still experience racism. Like I'm pretty sure especially El Salvadorians. I mean, I know for a fact El Salvadorians are like discriminated against. Like Mexicans think like really badly of El Salvadorians.
You know what? But even that, I'm gonna say that I've been very, very fortunate that I have not had to deal with any of that. Now, there has been instances where I've been not pulled over, but I've been walking in the street, and the cops pulled me over just to search me. But
that's where that affects you. That affects you.
But I didn't see it that way. I just saw it as, all right, well, I got nothing here. Check me. I'm on my way. That's how I saw it. I didn't even think any of it until I was having a conversation with somebody else, much like we're having right now. And I explained to them what happened. I was like, well, that was racial profiling. But I was like, but I didn't see it that way. I didn't even feel harassed or anything. I was just like, search me. But also, I will add, at the time, weed was only legal with the permit, with the rec, right, that you used to get. And I had a little bit of weed in my pocket. So I was being very cooperative with the officer for that reason. So I don't know if that's why I didn't see it that way. Maybe if I would have been, if I wouldn't have anything illegal in my pockets, then maybe, but he didn't find it. He searched my pocket and he didn't find it. So we're here.
for the most part, but that is racial profiling though. I think people aren't going to know unless you point it out. Unless you point it out, you're not going to know, because obviously, yes, common sense is okay. The cop's asking me, I just follow orders. But then it's like when you think about it, like, would you get the same treatment if you were another race? Let's say you're of European descent.
But I don't know that.
If you were blonde, and had not as much melanin and had blue eyes, very different story.
The chances of me not getting pulled over are a lot less.
Are a lot slimmer. Not saying it's not zero. Nothing's ever zero.
Right. Of course, you're right. Yeah, no. Sometimes I like to play a devil's advocate. So that's why I said, but you don't know that.
Yeah,
But I completely understand what you're saying.
yeah, but for the most part, yeah, that's why reparations is such a like a touchy subject and whatnot. But yeah, for the most part, my understanding of it is that if you had stuff taken away from you, if you were even the slavery days, if you were here, because those people were forced here, they were brought on their own against their will over here. If you had things, I understand the reparations in sense like you started, like people like you started ground zero, and like usually I understand that concept. I understand that concept, and I'm okay with that. But when it comes to like, yeah, it's just very controversial. Not controversial. It's a very complicated topic that you have to like really.
It would be hard to uh to set it the right way where like you said, people who lost property or who lost something, they would get repaid for, a reparation, not a repayment, but a reparation.
Yeah.
It would be hard to select who's who today, because that was done. Some of those people are not even alive today. So who would get that? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One last thing before I let you go. What do you think of this is moving into the current events that's happening today? The Nord Stream pipeline. Now, I know what it is today, but can you explain a little more what it is?
So it's a gas pipeline. It's supposed to fast track. You can correct me. The people can correct me if I'm wrong on this one. It's also fast track gas from pretty much Russia to the EU, the European Union. But what the attacks are, it's kind of has okay. It's bad for the environment. It's really bad that for the environment because it's bad if it cracks.
It's gas.
But actually, those gas. If you don't know, the pipelines aren't flowing. There's no gas flowing through. The Nord Stream pipeline hasn't even gone online yet. The number two one hasn't gone online. Number one has been turned off since August.
So what was leaking? Just air?
The pressure from the gas. There was still gas in there, but it wasn't being transferred.
Oh,
So it
okay.
doesn't. So it's still bad for the environment, but it doesn't affect Europe's energy supply.
Now, is that like the kind of like the same thing that happened in the Gulf of Mexico by Florida?
No. That's completely different. That was that. This is a
Oh,
leak. That thing of Gulf of Mexico was a full on spill. I think.
oh, okay,
I think it was a
okay.
full on spill. Like it's still bad. It's still bad. It's still bad for the environment. Terrible for the environment. But at the same time, it's just. But yeah, right now that thing actually isn't flowing. Is one of them hasn't even gone into service yet. The Nord Stream 2 hasn't gone into service, and the other one's been turned off since August.
So now, before that, they ask there was a press conference with Biden. They were asking him how he would
He was gonna say Nord Stream 2 was gonna be gone if Russia invades. Nord Stream 2 will be gone.
right now. Does that the way he said it? When they questioned him about it, they asked him like how would he control it. His answer was like, I promise we can control it. And then you have those explosions. Now, to a conspiratorial mind like mine that doesn't understand nothing, that at least tries to understand most things, I should say. To me, it seems like we might have done it.
There's more reasons actually for Russia to do it than the U.S. to do it. U.S.
Oh, okay.
This is where yeah, if you go in conspiracy, you can go on both sides. You can argue both sides. You can say the U.S. did it, or you can say Russia did it. But for the most part, I would say we have to wait. We have to wait because yes, Biden did say that, but I don't think that's how the United States would control it. The United States wouldn't want to risk an environmental disaster like that. If anything, the United States would probably. There are other ways the United States would do it. I don't think this is something the United States would do. Now, this is something that we'd have to research more on, but the United States wouldn't blow up the thing. It would probably be something else that actually deals with the infrastructure.
That would be kind of like shooting yourself in the foot.
Kinda, but I just don't think the United States would do something like that. Like they could control the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, but just not this way. I just don't think it is this way. Yeah. So,
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, because see, like I said, my mind went straight like maybe, but yeah, that makes more sense. Like, because if the United States doesn't want to be seen as like you said, them destroying the environment, so they have an interest on why not to do it and why that shouldn't happen. Yeah.
you can go conspiracy theory on both sides. Both sides, both the U.S. and Russia have. I mean, you could argue both sides, but as of right now, we don't know who, and I think everyone's just speculating. So we're gonna wait. We'll just wait for more information, unless we find something else. They're meeting this Friday.
Oh, so
The UN Security Council is meeting this Friday to talk about it.
more to come.
We're probably gonna know anything. No one's gonna know anything. no one's gonna know anything until probably later on. But I don't think it's whatever. It's whatever
Right.
right now.
Now, one last thing before I let you go, because I don't want to take much more of your time. What are your thoughts of the UAPs? Now, do you think it's what is it called? Marietta, what is it called? Jesus, the Defense Department? Martin, Marietta Martin, or the other Martin? The defense?
The unidentified. Are you talking about the UFOs?
Yeah, the UFOs. Now they're called UAPs now. I should have said UFO. But yeah, what are your thoughts? You think it's the military? It's our military, or it's really something? What are your thoughts though?
Those
Your personal opinion, like none.
I I mean, I don't know. I don't think aliens are that dumb. I don't think aliens are that dumb.
Well, if they made it this far,
If they made it this far, I feel like they wouldn't make it so obvious for us to see them. I mean, yeah, we don't really have images of them. Like we have all these blurry images of them, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like if they came this far, they would have the technology to just hide themselves.
right?
I mean, they could be living among us. They could be living among us.
Never
Um,
know.
my conspiracy theory actually is more of the fact that I think this is like the second iteration of the human race, as in like the modern human has existed for over 250,000 years. You're telling me out of the 250,000 years, we finally came to technology. You didn't tell me that we didn't do this before.
I feel like life is like an etch a sketch. Once the picture is done being drawn, well, you're ready to draw a new picture and you shake it all up to erase
I,
everything.
we could have done this. We could have done this long. We could have done this 30,000 years ago. I don't know if we had internet or that, but like this, we could have had electricity and all that stuff like 40,000 years ago, and we would have never known because they actually did studies. They did like a simulation. If we were to disappear off the face of the earth today,
Mhm.
life would come back within a couple hundred of years. We would all our buildings, everything would disappear.
Right.
So
I've seen that video. That is so interesting.
so then I'm thinking to myself, I'm just like, what if this is like, what if we've gone to like other planets before? Like, what if like the human race has done all of this before? Just we fucked it all up one time, and then we blew up everything, and then we had to start all over, and now we're here again.
Well, that's the Mars conspiracy, right?
But
That Mars, that humans fucked up Mars and we came to Earth.
I've heard about that theory too. I've heard about the theory that we fucked up Mars because Mars used to be an oasis. I've heard
Hmm.
Venus also was an oasis too, and we fucked that up
I
too.
just heard that today. I heard that
Venus,
literally today. Now that you bring that up, yeah, it makes me wonder too. Because either way, whether there's life away from here or not, it's scary because we don't know what their mindset is. Do they want to conquer everything like we do here, or are we alone and it's equally as scary?
hmm
So I don't know, but yeah. Well, my friend Merpden, I appreciate you and your time. Thank you for giving me this conversation. I really appreciate you. Please
Thanks, man.
go ahead and plug everything you have going on one more time. Please go ahead and thank you.
Just Merpden at TikTok and follow this guy.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Well, ladies and gentlemen and non-binary folk, very, very interesting. The world seems to be on fire, but we might just have some hope. We might just have hope. Hope is in the horizon. Thank you all, for listening to our 2 cents. My friend Merpden, thank you. Deuces.